Hello, and welcome back to the ASME webinars. So we are going to continue where we left off and go straight into modify. Um, Probably with how I've planned out on doing this webinar, we'll get into pattern and constraint as well. And the very next video, we should be able to go straight into finish, sketch, and other advanced parts of this program. So just reading through the various functions is move, copy, rotate, trim, extend, split, scale, stretch, and offset. And all of them are fairly self-explanatory by the name, except for offset, in my opinion. So we'll probably go over that first, and just so that I can explain it to you guys a little bit more. And then from there, just show you how each command works. I do have to apologize because I was not able to figure out how to actually get my video recording software to be able to record any kind of values that come up in my drawing space. You can't see what I do, but if you do it yourself, you can actually see the values come up for you. And I also do apologize for any poor quality. I'm played around with the settings a little bit to see if I can get it better, but I honestly don't think it will be too much better than it was previously. So just bear with me. I'll eventually figure it out. I'm kind of new to this as well. So anyways, let us begin. So offset function. What the offset function does is that it basically takes an object or a line or something you have and it shifts it over in a specific direction that you want, a specific dimension. So say we take this line that we draw, doesn't have to be too specific, right? This line right here, and I'm going to click the offset button. I'm going to click this line and see, right now it's constrained, which is one of the words here. And what constrained means it's limited to the specific direction that we are on right now, which is basically the quote unquote face of this line. But you can see that I can move it away a specific distance, right? I'm going to click, and that's what the offset function does. So in AutoCAD, you can actually type out the offset function um, and then click your object and then put in a specific dimension. If you want to play with the dimensions here, you would just actually go to dimension and then click, and voila. So that's the space that you have currently in between your two lines. I just double click this dimension here, and by doing so, I can actually adjust how far away the two lines are offsetted. Let me go ahead and go over this uh, function again. Oops, don't want to do that, but with a shape. So let's go with a rectangle. All right, escape, offset. I'm going to offset this rectangle. And you see how it's different? The offset for an actual solid shape is kind of a thickness to a box, for example. So this we know, like say for example, the original one is the outside measurement of a square bar, okay? And we know that we need to have a quarter-inch space between the outside edge and the inside edge. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just place the second rectangle and do the dimension between the two spaces, and then change it to 0.25. Voila. And I'm going to do it again here to make sure that's correct. So the offset function is very interesting and very easy to use. It really helps out when you know a thickness of something three-dimensional and you don't really want to draw it twice. You can just offset it and then apply the dimension that you need for whatever the thickness is. It saves you some time here and there when you get into more advanced applications. It just makes everything so much easier, especially in AutoCAD. Um, I'm not sure if I will go into AutoCAD actually now that I'm talking about it because ME250 already utilizes that program and they go over it. What I can do with AutoCAD, if you guys want, is get the slides and information from the class and do video recordings for it and post it up on the website as well. But I was honestly planning on going into either Design Spark next or going into Revit MEP, which is actually pretty important in the industry as a program. But I'll explain that more when I start doing the webinars for that. So, continuing on with offset, now we're going to do it with the circle, and it's going to be a similar case with the circle. When you offset, it's just going to be like a thickness kind of thing, okay? So let's highlight everything and delete. So that's the offset function. Sorry. We'll go up from there. All right, so stretch. We're going to go ahead and first draw a rectangle and then click the stretch function. A little box pops up that doesn't actually show on my screen right now unless I add it like so. Okay, sorry, it's a little big. So what you're going to do is click the sides that you want stretched, and then you want to click the base point. Okay, and then it's going to ask you a prompt that says the geometry being edited is constrained to other geometry. Would you like these restraints removed? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Okay, and if you say no, nothing happens because, like it said, right now your object is constrained by the geometry that it's in, aka the rectangle. But if you try to do it again like I just did, and you click yes, you can play around with it a little bit, like so. So I'm taking this corner from its original point and stretching it to whatever figure I want. Okay, there we go. And you can continue to do that with any of the sides. What you have to do though is you click this, make sure that this is selected so it looks like it's pressed in. Click the two sides that you want to play with. And then you click this, which is the base point, which should be the corner. And then you're going to click yes at, let me go ahead and show you the box that pops up. This is the box that shows up, and you're going to want to click yes when it comes up. And there you go. Your corner becomes stretchable, like that. Okay. And when you're done with it, you can just click done and call it a day. So next we have scale. Okay. What scale does is a very similar prompt box as stretch did. And all we're going to do is, again, click sides, click the point, and it pops up a little window that looks like so. The geometry being edited is constrained to other geometry. Would you like it removed? Yes. So now you can see that there's a black line that is being scaled. Okay. And then you can see on the little toolbar that there's a scale factor increasing and decreasing. So right now it is 0.267. So it is a quarter of the size of what it was. If I continue, you can get to 1, that's the size it was. You can get to 2, it's 2 times the size it was. And you can even play around with this scale factor yourself and, just enter it in and it spits it out for you. And then you click apply and you can see that it does that. You can actually scale the whole thing if you wanted to, clicking all of the sides and then clicking the point that you want to be seeing the increase or the direction that the scale goes. Okay, so I'm going to say this point here, and it becomes the base point. Sorry, I mistakenly said direction, point, so on, but yeah, I meant to say the base point as the prompts specified. Okay, so that's the scale function. It's very useful if you have say you draw something really small, like a L bracket, but you actually need it a little bit bigger to fit the dimensions you need. Okay, so you can go ahead and scale it up to the length that you need. Delete, oops, delete that. Okay, now we're going to play with the trim function. we're going to do a rectangle with another rectangle, a few other rectangles inside of it. Okay, so what trim does is if there's any kind of overlap, it cuts it out for you. So just the easiest way to show is an example. So I click the trim button up top, and all of these rectangles are lining or overlaying each other. So if I were to click this line segment right here, it cuts it away. And if I were to click this one, it cuts that away. And then so on and so on and so on. There we go. And once, like, after you get to a point where you just have an outline of a shape, you keep using trim, it just starts taking away portions. This actually lines up with that, so it cuts like basically straight down if you needed to. Here you can see that if I were to click here, these two corners would line up. So if you don't want to be super precise, but you know generally how it's going to look, you can just go ahead and do overlays of various things, and then you can trim away what you don't need, like so. Okay. All right. Okay. So the extend function. Extending is kind of similar to just stretching out a line, okay? So we're going to have a multitude of lines. I'm just going to draw a few, and then I'm going to put a rectangle right in the middle, okay? So I'm going to click the extend function, and I'm going to hover over various line segments. And what these line segments are doing when the black portion pops up, it's basically saying, let's extend this line all the way to the next like line that would make sense, okay? Like it's not extending this direction because there's nothing there to overlap it. It's extending this direction because the rectangle's side is there, so why not connect them? This side is extending up because this line is up here. So it's basically trying to tell you, hey, we can turn this into a corner for you, like so. And you can do it to various other segments. Like this side right here, there's 2 points that it can extend to. So if you go past the median of that segment, it changes. So I do that, voila. And you can clearly see that it wants to extend out like so. The reason why is because this line can extend that way to create a corner there. So the extend, all it does is it's trying to connect two lines to create some form of a shape or a corner or something like that. It's very useful if you're trying to figure out if your lines line up at all. So say you have one measurement on one side of a project that you're doing, and you have a measurement on another side, but you can't tell that they are the same length or not, even though it says that they're the same length when you dimension them. So you can go ahead and do extend and see if the lines connect at some point. And if they do, then typically that means they should be on the same level, aka like the same height or something like that. So now we're going to play with split, which does the exact opposite. Actually, not really the exact opposite. It does exactly what the name implies. It splits an object. So I drew a rectangle and I drew a line straight through it. So if I were to click split, it'll just split the object right where the line intersects it. So this object, I can go ahead and just select basically this entire side of it. You can see that it was split right where the line segment is. Okay, and if I were to clean it up a little bit with trim, you have yourself a pretty decent object. It's very useful when you're playing with circles and you know that you have a chord straight across at a specific point and you only need like the big portion or maybe the smaller portion, and you can just split it and then click and delete. That of course is if you don't want to use the trim function. It's really up in the air when which one is more useful than the other. I personally just enjoy using trim a lot more because it just makes everything a lot neater. It gets rid of whatever you need to split or cut away once you click on that space. So um, move, it's exactly as it sounds. You click the move function. You can either click to move by the side or like click each side of the object and then click whatever you want your base point. You can move it around. You can also use it to copy. So if I want to copy the object based on corners like so. Oh, no, that's not corners. So I want to make a copy of this object from this base point. Boom. I now have a copy of the object. Oh, sorry, I didn't bring up the little menu for you guys. There. So again, click for the sides, click for the base point. This is for copying, precise input, aka the coordinate system. Um, yeah, okay, so I'm going to click the sides of the object that I want copied. I'm going to copy to clipboard. Okay, I'm going to go from this base point here. Okay, and it becomes a stamp. And because I also copied to clipboard, I can control V it and it will just overlay on top of my previous original square. Um, as you can see, I could have also copied only specific segments. So if I say I want to copy, the window's up right now, but I'm actually, yeah, I'll just go ahead and bring it up for you guys again. Oops, it's a little big. So I'm going to go ahead and select, say I want this segment and this segment copied, and I want it based off of this base point. And now I have parallel lines for a stamp. Yay! Anyways, continuing on. All right, now rotate. Very similar function to what it sounds like again. When you click the button, you get this little prompt that pops up. Okay, move it over there. First, you have to select what you want to rotate, and then you select the center point that you want it to rotate around. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to say yes at the little prompt again, and yay! From that center point that I picked, my object is now rotating around it. And in the window, you can see that the angle changes to whatever, and you can do precise measurements of that as well. And you can also have it be a copy at a specific angle. So you don't have to mess around with your original at all if you don't want to. Okay. So that's the Modify tab. Let's go over the pattern bar. So first we have rectangular, which in AutoCAD is known as array. And then we have circular, which is in AutoCAD is known as circular array. And then we have mirror, which is exactly as the name implies. It's a mirror of the object. So let's say I were to, we'll start with circle. And let's say I have a circle. Start with mirror. Let's say I start with a circle and I take a line and I'm going to make it a chord like so. Right? Of course, if you want a mirror, you need a point of reference. So I'm going to draw a line right next to it. I'm going to take mirror, and there's going to be a mirror window pop up like so. And it says select. So these are the objects that I want to mirror. And then click the mirror line like that. And then I'm going to click apply. And you just mirrored this object across this line and it became this. When you mirror something, you have to be sure to specify where you want to mirror over. So let's say, again, I have the select option, so I want to select these objects. I want to mirror it over, say, this segment. Doesn't let you. Center point, nope. This line, yes, it does. And there you go. Mirrored this object over itself. It's very specific that you have to mirror it over a line. Okay, so Say done with that and delete. And now we're going to play with circular. Oh, I'm going to draw a rectangle here, right? And I'm going to click circular, and we're going to have a prompt again, as usual. Okay. And first it says select geometry, and I'm going to go ahead and select my box. And then it's click the arrow again. You see little X's popped up on the corners? Here, let me zoom in for you. Little X's pop up on the corners. And that's the options of how we want to rotate about. Okay. So if I were to click that corner, it would do that as its array with 6 different objects in 360 degrees. So if I were to do 180, well, not 18, 180, and flip, 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 you can see that it goes opposite directions, right? And of course, you can change it to do absurd things like 20 of them and do it over like 87 degrees. So that's circular. It doesn't actually work that well with circle. So let's try it. The little window popped up. I'm not gonna do anything special there. You see no X's pop up. And if I were to click to see if there anything pops up, we just get an arrow. We have no preview of what anything looks like. And if we were to confirm that this is what our circular pattern is to be, we get a little error message that says that. So don't circular array a circle. All right, so next we have rectangle. There we go. There's the little box that we get. Okay, so little box. We have directions that it can go. So direction 1 is horizontal, direction 2 is vertical. So again, we're going to click what shape we want, and then we're going to click according to whatever point we want as like our reference. So I'm going to actually use this line here as our point of reference. And you can specify again how many you want. So 6, and it's going that way because I clicked on this side of the line. It's doing that thing where if you specify which direction to go by if it's over the middle point or not. So then you can specify what the spacing between is. So I want to say 2, or if I want to go 0.5 or 0.1. Okay, and then if we were to specify direction 2, again, either going up or down, we're going to say go down. And we can do the same thing. We can say have 6 of them and spacing of 0.1. And we have ourselves a nice little mess. Yay! And it specifies to you what the spacing is in between your shapes. But of course, with how I did it, it's very difficult to see what the shapes are. So I'm just gonna delete that. Said I'm going to just delete that. Why are you not deleting? Okay. Anywho, so that's the pattern bar. With that, I think I'm going to call this part done, and then the next one we'll go into three-dimensional objects. So again, as usual, if there's any questions, complaints, comments, whatever, feel free to either post them on the YouTube page or email me directly. Again, at this point, you guys should have my email. If you don't and you're new to the society, well, you'll find out soon enough at a general body meeting or from the website, anything like that. All right. See you guys next time.